Mode.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a good day today. Thanks for joining me. We are continuing with talking about objection strategies today, and I'm going to move into the second phase of this, which is really tying, objections together with closing techniques and stacking them on top of one another. So we'll continue what I guess we call part two of our buyer objection workshop, and then adding closing strategies in there. I'm going to go over the four most common objections that I hear, that I train on with my clients, and do a quick review of what we talked about, or I should say yesterday, or last week, excuse me, 2 weeks ago. That's right. And just want to let you know also that there will be no meeting next Thursday for owners and managers, the 29th of August. That is the fifth Thursday of the month. So the next time we get together for owners and managers is going to be on Thursday, September 4th. So I'll be wishing all of you a good and happy Labor Day weekend, kind of the end of summer coming up here. Anyway, so let's get started with the topic today, which is really dealing with the buyer objections and the strategies that go with them. Just a quick review from what we did last time. Remember, an objection is simply request for more information. And so where we get objections are normally here right when someone becomes a prospect, and then right before they become a buyer. So today I'm going to focus more on when they become a buyer, more your final objections, and then we'll look at again the most common objections that I hear from my clients. So quick review from yesterday, or from 2 weeks ago. Remember, we have objections being heard at different points of the sales process. So when it goes from the prospect to buyer, so when you're having a face-to-face meeting with someone, we typically are going to get objections heard at the initial consultation, and these are usually smokescreen objections, and so we discussed the best strategy there would be to shelve it. We get into the home site reservation or plan deposit, we're going to get second objections and more final objections heard there when we get to plan deposit or purchase agreement. Now, if you remember, the process was the OAC process. So I let the prospect give me the objection, I hear it out, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm either going to answer it or shelve it. And today we're going to focus on answers because we can't shelve final objections. We would use the shelving technique when we are just using the initial objections. Now, closing is, again, just to confirm, you're not necessarily closing for the purchase agreement or the plan deposit, but closing is for the next step in your sales process. So if it's just the initial consultation, you're going to close for perhaps a home site review, or if it's a home site review, you're going to close for the plan deposit or the pricing meeting or perhaps a purchase agreement. So the tools that we looked at that we should be using right now, one is the send ahead. So that's your needs, wants, and wish list, and that's going to relate directly to price. So all of you should be sending that out. Bragging about it is when you have a specific objection you hear over and over again. And typically the biggest objection we get is usually with price. So oftentimes it's not a bad idea to brag about, the price being the way it is and what the benefits to that are. Then we get into home site reservation, plan deposit, and purchase agreement. We're going to the strategy phrased close processes, which I'm going to focus on more today. You have an objection strategy, you have a phrase that goes with it, and then you're going to close for the next step. So again, going back to the prospect to buyer process, so we look at our tools that we have. So we have a needs, wants, and wish list in the send ahead. We get the initial consultation. We brag about any objections we hear time and time again. We're going to get in front of them before we wait for them to come up. And again, pricing usually is the number one objection we hear, so that's something we should be bragging about. Home site reservation, preliminary pricing, we go back to the strategy, phrase, and close, needs, wants, and wish list, and then we stick with the strategy, phrase, close methodology when we get to the plan deposit and purchase agreement. So the objection worksheet I asked you to do last time was you look at what are your top 6 objections you're hearing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the top 4 that I hear. You probably have some specific objections as it relates to your location that I'm not going to deal with today. So it could be the view, it could be the distance to employment, it could be lack of amenities, whatever it is. So that's typically going to be your final 2. So you'll have 4 that relates more or less overall to building a home or remodeling a home, and then the last 2 are going to relate specifically to probably the location that you're doing it at. So here are the final objections that I hear on a regular basis from my clients. So number one, we want to think about it. And I'll tell you right now that we want to think about it, the objection is all about price. So anytime you get that objection, you just need to make a note. It's coming down to price. We need to think about it. Number two, we want to look at existing homes. Is there a better deal? Okay, so the value has not been created for your offering. So that's where you need to really step back. You need to go through and confirm, their needs, wants, and wishes, and how those can be delivered through your brand new home. We want to meet another builder first before we put money down with you. So that could be with the home site reservation, a plan deposit, or perhaps a purchase agreement. So we got to talk to that other builder first, or you're the first builder we've met with. Same basic objection. And then number four is your price is too high. And sometimes you get people, number one and number four are both related around price. Sometimes people will come out and tell you, well, the price is too much. Other times they're just going to give you they want to think about it, or they'll skirt away. So those two we have to be very sensitive to, and that's going to take, the method we use is called questioning down, which I will go through with you here in a second. Now, one of the things I want to make sure for resources that you all are aware of is these training videos that I go through today. So every time that we have a training on a Thursday, if I recorded the training, which normally I do, like today I'll be recording it again, I go ahead and I put it into this particular web page. This is not password protected on Game Day Coaching. You can get access to it. I send that link out with the attendance list, and then you can check the date of the training. I have the topic on here, and I have the audience for owners and managers. So as an example, the last training that we had was on the 15th for owners and managers, going over the revamped referral rewards program. So that's at the very bottom here. So everything is just in chronological order. And if we have resources you need to access, I put the links right on here too. So it's a very good tool for you to use for now and in the future. All right, so we're going to go back into Game Day Coaching, and one of the things I put together for home builders and remodelers is what we call a sales readiness quiz, and part of that is dealing with objections. So what I've done is I've put together for home builders, I've put together the four most common objections what I just talked about. Think about it: existing homes, meet with another builder first, and your price is too high. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk you through this using that objection strategy, the phrase, and then putting a close on top of it. And what we'll start with is I want to think about it. So I've gone ahead and I've opened these up, and we're going to set the stage here. So the question is, it's natural the probable homeowner will object to handling the design consultation or plan deposit or purchase agreement. How would you answer these objections? So the objection is we want to think about it. Remember, note to self, this is based on price. This is based on price. So the strategy I'm going to use is called questioning down. The phrase will be just suppose that we could, and then the script goes something like this. So the homeowner says, you know what, Rick, we'd like to think about before putting that money down for a plan deposit or a home site reservation or a purchase agreement, whatever it is. And I would say, well, that's absolutely no problem. I just want to confirm, I assume that since you do want to take the time to think about it, you're considering our company. Is that correct? And they'll say, oh, sure, yeah, we are. That's perfect. So just to make sure I've done my part on educating you on our building and design process, could you tell me what area you need to think about? And then you're just going to keep going here. Just walk right through this. So is it our company background? Do you feel we're a good fit for you? And just stop here for a second. If you remember, when you get your initial consultation, the first 20 minutes, you're going to walk through what their background is for home building. Have they built before? If yes, what was that experience like? Why didn't they pick the other builder they're building with again? Why are they talking to you? And if they have not built before, you want to find out, well, since we would be the first builder you'd be partnering with, tell me what's important to you. You're going to get all of their preconceived notions and stereotypes as it relates to working with a home builder or building a home. So remember, the question that you ask when you do that is, at the end of our time here together, I just want to ask you a simple question. Would you consider using us? And if the answer is yes, we'll talk about the next step. If the answer is no, hey, that's no problem. I'll even help direct you to maybe a better path, which might be an existing home, a used home, or perhaps even a different builder. So I go back to and I refer to that again here. So could you tell me which area you need to think about? And I just keep going right through this. Is it our company background? Do you feel we're a good fit? Oh yeah, Rick, absolutely, sure you are. Well, is it our design process? Are you comfortable with our design fees? Or is it our selection process or whatever it is? Are you comfortable with the way we do things? Your process is well defined. The fees seem reasonable. Were you comfortable with the construction process? Do you have any concerns about our trade partners? No, we just need some time to think things over. Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, could I ask one last question? Is the budget range we discussed more than you were expecting? Well, we were a bit surprised at how much that might cost. And then I got to go back and I got to basically ask the question, okay, how much is too much? That's in essence what I'm asking here. So I'm going to say, where would you be comfortable at? Where would you be comfortable at? And they're going to say, well, geez, we really wanted to be here. So you know how it always works, right? The budget is, pick a number, 200,000, 500,000, a million, whatever it is. You put everything together, they're always over it. We've discussed this at length and how to present that pricing. But at the end of the day, some people are just going to be very coy about it and say, well, you need to think about it. Well, they're not thinking about anything. They're thinking it's too much and they can go get a better deal from somebody else. So we want to be about here. Based on what we discussed today, it's not realistic to build your home in that budget. You just got to come out and say it. It's not realistic. However, and here's the key. There might be another option we can explore. Would you like to hear it? Isn't that a nice way to do it? So there might be another option. Would you like to hear it? Of course, I'm going to go right after curiosity at this point. And they say, sure. And this is where your phrase comes in. So just suppose we could come up with some options for your home that would still accomplish the majority of your goals and it would keep you within your budget. In order to do this, we'd still need to proceed with a plan deposit, and we'd be willing to guarantee we can show you some options so you're not wasting your time and money. Does that sound fair? Now, notice that term guarantee. I'm going to get to that here in a second. We've talked about that. If you guys remember or don't remember, we went through the fast start process. When we got to marketing, we got to your unique selling proposition and your positioning statement. And one of the things that I suggested that you incorporate into your USP is some sort of a guarantee. So I'm going to revisit that here in a second here with a couple of those options. But I love to put guarantees in place at certain parts of the sales process. So we'll go in and we'll revisit those. But this is one option here. So what if we could guarantee we could show you some options, you're not wasting your time and money? Does that sound fair? Yeah, that would sound good. Okay. And maybe it goes that way, maybe it doesn't. So great, let's authorize the agreement and set a time to meet with our designer. Now, I made a note here for the design guarantee. I've actually got it opened up in here. But I had put together a program based on several different ways you could create guarantees throughout your sales process. One of them was a best price guarantee. Another one was called the guaranteed design satisfaction and zero variance. I just want to open this one up for a second here and show you what I'm talking about. And specifically here, oops, how did I get so darn big? Okay, specifically here, I'm looking at the design satisfaction guarantee. So what we're saying at this point is, hey, if we cannot provide a space plan within the estimated budget range, including the preliminary scope of work from the design consultation meeting, we're going to refund 100% of the plan deposit fee. You're under no obligation to complete the project with us. Simple as this. What you would do at this point is you would come back and you would revise the scope for them. So you're going to revise your preliminary specs, you're going to revise the scope, go back to your needs, wants, and wish list, and you're going to show them how they can still accomplish the majority of their goals. And you're going to go ahead and revise the scope. So what does that mean? Well, you might need to swap out some of the features they want, some of the options they want. You might need to go in and you might need to cut back in square footage. You might need to change up some of the exterior elements, whatever it is. But you're going to go back and say, look, we can still get your needs done and we can do it in this budget. So once that's revised, they go ahead, put down the plan deposit fee, or they're going to sign the purchase agreement based on those revised scope of work. And you're going to say, if we can't produce a plan for you, with these specifications, we'll get you your money back and you can walk on us. So that's one way to use a guarantee as part of your unique selling proposition. The other way is it's what you're already doing. It's called the no risk guarantee or a zero variance guarantee. So what you're saying here is that ABC Builders provides a zero variance guarantee from the construction agreement to project completion. So once you sign on the dotted line, contractually, what we will do is guarantee all labor and material costs after put in their home building agreement, purchase agreement has been authorized. If additional costs arise due to misquotes or price changes, we're going to pay for 100% of any overages. Changes to homeowner selections, allowances, not finalized as selected, and unforeseen conditions are exempt from the guarantee. And this is, again, based on for a remodeler, but you could just insert your words for a home builder as well. Now, this is the great thing about the no risk guarantee or zero variance. You guys are already doing it because it's a contract, right? It's a contract. You're already doing it. So it's really a simple way to add a unique selling proposition to build confidence for your process. So that is the guarantee aspect of things. And if you have questions on any of that stuff, just go ahead and type the answer here into this. All right, so let's go back and look at the next one. All right, so the next one here is, well, you are the first builder that we've talked to. And you're the first builder we've talked to. So we want to go ahead and talk to somebody else before we do anything with you. Okay, well, in this case, we're going to go ahead and we are going to use a strategy to brag about it and question down. So yeah, you know, there's a reason we're the first builder you talk to, because we're the best. So we'll brag about that. And the phrase that we're going to use here is feel, felt, found. Remember, feel, felt, found works great with your S personalities or your LAM personalities, your steadiness, because roughly 50% of the population is this personality. So this is your default personality you're going to be working with. So initial presentation questions, you know, to reveal if you're the first builder you're working with. So how many other builders are you considering? Have you built or remodeled a home before? What was your experience like? We talked about this. What concerns or fears do you have? So you should already know if they have built before, and you should already have asked what other builders they consider, and that's part of your needs analysis. So here's where we start bragging about it. So, you know, we're normally the first home builder that people talk to, and we're very proud of our reputation. Just so I can clarify my thoughts, can you tell me what part of our process doesn't quite fit? So this is the question down process I'm going through again. So tell me what doesn't fit. Is it the design or selection process? No, that works great. Well, is it the build time that we outlined for you? No, that works. Is it the investment or budget range? Nope, that seems to be right on what we were looking at. Well, is it the home site? Maybe it's one of the home sites you own, if that's applicable. And you can go on from there. But I usually try to get 3 or 4 questions in here. As you can see right now, I've got 4. No, you're just the first builder we've talked to, and it seems we should talk to a couple more before I do anything. Some people think they have to talk to 3 builders, right? They just have that built into their head. So instead of you saying, okay, we'll go talk to them, this is how we're going to handle it. You know, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, that makes perfect sense. I really understand you want to get the most home or project for your money, and we want that for you too. In fact, many of our current and past clients felt exactly as you do right now when they first started. What they found was they needed to take this next step, go into our plan deposit, no matter what builder they chose. This is called a pressure reliever. So if I'm going to get somebody to come in, I'm going to give them an out. So they needed to take this next step. So they needed to go in and do their selections. They needed to go in and get their plan drawn. They needed to go in and they needed to pick their home site. But they had to go, no matter what they chose, they had to get the information they needed to make an informed choice to move forward or not. Now that makes sense, doesn't it? Well, I guess so. Well, since you're comfortable with everything we discussed earlier, because I just went through my question down, since you're comfortable with this, let's get the design process started, and then you can begin finalizing your design, selections, and final budget. Then you can determine if it makes sense to continue forward with us or work with a different builder. Does that sound like a plan? Simple as that. So I give them an out to get them in. We've got to identify the unknowns first for you to just to consider that, yes, this project is workable for me. Because whether you do that with me or somebody else, you know what? It's information you have to find. So since you're comfortable with everything that we're doing here, why not do it with us? So I really focus on this is saying you're not picking a builder right now. What we are doing is we are removing the unknowns in your project. And everybody hates surprises. How many times do you hear that? Well, I don't want any surprises, Chris. I don't want any surprises, Debbie. Don't give me surprises here. So that's what we're more or less reinforcing here with this script. So it's okay. Go talk to other builders first, but let's go ahead and get those unknowns removed. So that is number 2. All right. So for question number 3, For question number 3, we're going to go in and we're going to look at price is too high. So the price is too high. And in this case, my screen is screwed up here, excuse me. Okay, so in this case, I'll make this a little bit larger for you. What were the typical objections? Well, you're too high. Can you come down? Builder B is lower than you. How many times have you heard that? Well, your competitor is lower. Can you come down? So the strategy we're going to look at here is we lead guests to answer their own concern with questioning. So the phrase that we use is simply, obviously you got a good reason for thinking that way, or it might be feeling that way. If you remember last week we talked about different personalities. Your dominant personalities and your analyticals are thinkers. Your S personalities, your steadiness personalities, and your influence personalities are feelers. So I'm going to interject that word thinking based on who the personality I'm selling to is. Obviously you got a reason for thinking that way. Would you mind sharing it with me? So then we get this objection. I'm going to go and say, you know, can I share a thought you might find valuable? If you remember, we talked about that's the showstopper. That works with pretty much any personality. People will stop and they'll say, well, sure. You know, so can I share a thought you might find valuable? Every builder is buying their materials for about the same price because their price is commodities on the worldwide market. Are you familiar with the typical ratio of labor to materials of a new home? No. Well, it's usually around 1/3, 2/3. Now, if you want to say 60-40 here, if you want to say 25-75, whatever. But I usually say it's 1/3 materials, 2/3 labor. The only way another builder is able to offer a lower price is through cheaper, lower skilled labor or by cutting corners in their building methods and features. Some of these cuts are going to be obvious and some are more hidden due to the typical consumer. Would you like to discuss how we could substitute lower priced materials or reduce our craftsmanship in order to lower your price? And then of course what's going to happen now? Oh no, we don't want anything cheap, by God. No, we don't want anything cheap. Well, would you like me to review our installation methods and scope of work with you again? Or are you satisfied you're getting the best home project for your money? And then what I'll do is I'll either go back and review the scope of work or I'll close to the next step. So you got to remember, some people are going to tell you you're too high just to see if they can get something out of it. And then if they go back and say, well, Builder B says that he will do this. Okay, well, let me see Builder B's spec sheets. Let me see what Builder B is doing. Because you can go through and you can pretty much find, where they're doing something different. But if you did your work up front here, where you discuss the design build methodology versus bidding, you can go back and you can reinforce that. Hey, do you want me to review this again? This is design build. Remember, we're working together collaboratively, designer, builder, and you as the consumer. You've gone and picked your products and features. We put together an architectural design together, and you know what? We've reviewed the installation methods through our scope of work. Should we go through that again? And look at what we can cheapen up. And use the word cheap here. It's very, very important. Cheap. No one wants cheap. And again, you may have to revert back to the low price versus low cost as well. All right. And let's see. I think that is the last one. Yeah, objection. Exactly. Objection is price is too high compared to what other builders want to pay. So I'm going to go back to the original one here. Yep, we went through all those. Thinking about it, existing homes, meet with another builder first, and price is too high. So all of you, just in case you're wondering where this information can be found, if you log into Game Day Coaching, and you're going to click on Key Activities for Sales Success, that's sales management, and what you will do is scroll down. I usually click Members, click here, and you're going to scroll down to where it says Resource, and then I've got Sales Readiness Quiz for Home Builder Salespeople and Sales Readiness Quiz for Remodeler Salespeople. So once I click on this link, this is the page that shows up. Now last week, if you remember, we went through the objection strategy, so you can download that here. I've also done a 5-minute video overview for those, and then you've got links here to all of the answers I just gave you for these objections. So to wrap up this week, in looking at how, stacking these objections and answers and closes on top of one another, is you need to, again, identify what are the 4 to 6. I say 6. I just gave you 4 typical sales objections. This is going to be based on the sales process, but typically there are going to be 1 to 2 objections you're going to have for a location objection. So you got to be prepared for those as well. And you got to be prepared for those 4 to 6 objections. And then what's going to happen is you go through these objection strategies, get your phrases you're comfortable with, and you should really script out your answers for those 6. I mean, write them out verbatim. Because what happens is when you do that, you're going to start using them, and then you're going to memorize them, you're going to internalize them, and then it's just going to become natural when they come out. It'll be your words, and it'll be very natural for you. I want to also remind you, when you're dealing with objections, is to never take an objection at face value. And if you're going to answer the objection, if you remember the OAC process, actually go back and answer it. I'll pull that up here again. Instead of shelve it, you always want to preface that with, well, besides, and state the objection, besides that, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, is there anything else that would preclude you from working with ABC Builders? So don't go in to answer an objection until you flush them all. So if they give you the price objection, say, well, besides you're concerned about the price, besides you wanting to talk to another builder, is there anything else that would preclude you from working with us? So make sure you get everything on the table. And then you can go ahead and answer it, and then you can close for the next step. And another tip just to remember is you want someone to get them in, give them an out. Give them an out. I mean, people are again, they're just nervous about taking that next step with you. They're nervous about putting down that money. Give them an out. Say, you know what? This is information you have to have anyway. We have a guarantee for this. If we can't, provide the information that we said here, we'll give you your money back. Best price guarantee, 0 variance guarantee, design satisfaction guarantee. Those are things that will build confidence and get people to move forward. That's it for today. I recorded this. I will send it out with a link, and so it'll go into the resource area for game day coaching. Any final questions on any objections or anything that we discussed today before we sign off? Go ahead and type them in right now or raise your hand. And that will remind you, so September 12th, so it's going to be about 3 weeks before we talk again, I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you some finance strategies. One of the ways as you continue your sales process forward is once someone gives you objections, then you have to help them logically justify the sale. And the way you help them logically do that is through finance. So I put together some different worksheets that you can use when you present your pricing. I have both remodeling worksheets and also for new homes. So I'm going to go through some specific examples for you. And these are things what I would do when I would present pricing is I would always present it with one of these worksheets, and I would tie it right into financing. And if you're dealing with first-time home buyers, first-time move-up, or even the $1 million plus buyers, it's always good to get things on paper so that people can logically justify pulling the trigger. I see no other questions on anything, so that'll wrap it up for today. For those of you that we have scorecard meetings with later this afternoon or tomorrow, we will talk to you then. Otherwise, you guys have a great rest of your week, and happy Labor Day to you. We'll be back and meeting with you on the 12th. Take care now. Bye-bye.